Education in Afghanistan includes K-12 and higher education, which is under the nation's Ministry of Education and Ministry of Higher Education. There are nearly 10 million students and 220,000 teachers in Afghanistan. The nation still requires more schools and teachers. Some of the major universities in Afghanistan are Kabul University, the American University of Afghanistan, Balkh University, Herat University, Nangarhar University, Sheikh Zayed University, and Kandahar University. One of the oldest schools in Afghanistan is the Habiba High School in Kabul, which was built by King Habibullah Khan in 1903 to educate students from the nation's elite class. In the 1920s, the German-funded Amani High School opened in Kabul, and about a decade later two French lycées began, the AEFE and the Lycée Esteklal. The Kabul University was established in 1932. Education was improved under the rule of King Zahir Shah between 1933 and 1973, making primary schools available to about half the population who were younger than 12 years of age, and expanding the secondary school system and Kabul University. Of the 10.3 billion AFs spent on the first 5-year plan, 7.7% was appropriated for education and health as compared to 49.5% for transportation and communication, 26.5% on industrial development, 12.6% for agriculture, and 3.8% for miscellaneous development works. By the end of the program, the number of students rising from 96.34 to 169.06 per 10,000 of population. The number of students receiving higher education per 10,000 of population rose from 0.66 to 1.44, and construction of a new campus for the Kabul University was taken in hand. During the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan, the government of the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan reformed the education system. Education was stressed for both sexes, and widespread literacy programs were set up. By 1978, women made up 40% of the doctors and 60% of the teachers at Kabul University. 440,000 female students were enrolled in educational institutions and 80,000 more in literacy programs. Despite improvements, a large percentage of the population remained illiterate. Not only was the constitution of the government styled after that of the Soviet Union, but also changes in academia started to resemble the Soviet approach to education. After the overthrow of the Taliban in late 2001, the Karzai administration received substantial international aid to restore the education system. Around 7,000 schools were operating in 20 of the 32 provinces by the end of 2003, with 27,000 teachers teaching 4.2 million children. Of that number, about 3.9 million were in primary schools. An estimated 57% of men and 86% of women were reported to be illiterate. And the lack of skilled and educated workers was a major economic disadvantage. When Kabul University reopened in 2002, some 24,000 male and female students enrolled for higher education. In the meantime, 5 other universities were being rehabilitated. Public school curricula have included religious subjects, but detailed instruction is left to religious teachers. By 2006, over 4 million male and female students were enrolled in schools throughout Afghanistan. At the same time, school facilities or institutions were also being refurbished or improved, with more modern-style schools being built each year. The American University of Afghanistan in Kabul was established in 2006. Other universities were renovated or rebuilt, such as Kandahar University in the south, Nangarhar University and Khost University in the east, Herat University in the west and Balkh University in the north. Despite these achievements, there were still significant obstacles to education in Afghanistan, many of which stem from a lack of funding. Planning curricular and school programs is difficult for the Ministry of Education because a significant amount of the budget for education comes from external donors, making it difficult to predict the annual budget. The obstacles to education were even more numerous for Afghan girls. Afghanistan's then Education Minister, Muhammad Hanif Atmar, said in 2007 that 60% of students were studying in tents or other unprotected structures. And some parents refused to let their daughters attend schools in such conditions. A lack of women teachers was another issue that concerned some parents, especially in more conservative areas. Some parents were not allowing their daughters to be taught by men. But this often meant that girls were not allowed to attend school. As the international aid agency Oxfam reported in 2007 that about 1/4 of Afghan teachers were women. In 2009, another concern was the destruction of schools by the Taliban, especially schools for females, following the destruction of over 150 schools in a year. Many parents had doubts about the government's ability to protect them. The following achievements were made in the first decade of the 2000s. Enrollment is low. T.